I have liked you for a long time. The words hit me so hard that, for a few seconds, I genuinely forgot how to breathe. Ethan Cole stood right in front of me, staring at me with an intensity one had never seen before. Before that project, before all those pointless arguments, he continued. I picked fights with you. I challenged everything you said. Do you know why? I could not answer. A faint smile touched his lips, but there was nothing playful in his eyes. Because that was the only way I could make you pay attention to me longer than everyone else. My throat went dry. Then his expression darkened. And when you sent me that photo, he paused. For the first time, Ethan Cole, the man who never hesitated about anything, actually looked like he was struggling to control himself. I thought you sent it because you felt the same way. His gaze locked onto mine. But then I started wondering, what if you did not? His voice dropped. What if you sent a picture like that to someone else? I froze. I would lose my mind. He stepped closer. I do not want anyone else seeing you like that. Not anger. Not teasing. Possessiveness. Raw, unmistakable possessiveness. And the worst part, I had absolutely no idea that all of this had begun because of one stupid game of truth or dare. Welcome to BL Drama. I hope you enjoy tonight and Appo's story. And now, let us go back to the beginning. The challenge is simple. Put on the white lace nightdress, take a photo, and send it to the first person in your chat list. The people behind me practically exploded. Laughter erupted around the table. Someone even slammed his palm down so hard that the wineglasses rattled. I stood completely still. The thin piece of paper in my hand trembled. For one brief moment, I seriously considered tearing that ridiculous challenge into 100 pieces. Come on. You chose dare. You cannot back out now. Exactly. If you play properly. And you have to send it right here. No editing. No deleting. Then someone asked the question I had been hoping nobody would ask. By the way, who is the first person in your chat list? Grinding my teeth, I unlocked my phone and opened the messaging app. Some tiny, desperate part of me still hoped I had remembered wrong. I had not. The first name on the screen was painfully clear. Ethan Cole. I stopped breathing for a second. Of all people, Ethan freaking Cole. Only a few hours earlier, the two of us had nearly torn each other apart over a project involving the engineering and marketing departments. We had argued for almost an hour. Neither of us was willing to compromise. If the department director had not stepped in, we might still have been fighting. And now, I was supposed to send him a picture of myself wearing a white lace nightdress. I considered every possible escape route. All of them were terrible. At that moment, drinking 5 liters of alcohol sounded easier. At least alcohol would eventually wear off. If I actually sent that picture, I was not sure I would ever be able to look Ethan in the eye again. Why are you just standing there? Ryan Hayes grinned wickedly. Your turn. He bent down and opened a gift box tied with a ribbon. The second the lid came off, everyone started cheering again. Ryan pulled out a white lace nightdress. It was so thin that the light practically passed through it. And apparently that was not humiliating enough. He pulled out another accessory and waved it in front of me. And wear the whole set. The tail too. Everyone burst out laughing. I stared at the fluffy accessory dangling from his hand. My brain shut down. The dress was already bad enough. With that thing added, I doubted the outfit would cover anything properly. There is no way I am wearing that. I tried to sound calm. Look at the size. That is made for a girl half my size. Then squeeze into it. That is what makes it funny. Stop making excuses. No backing out. Every argument I made was immediately rejected. I tried laughing it off. I tried changing the subject. I offered reasonable excuses. Then unreasonable excuses. Nothing worked. Those demons I called friends had already decided that I was doing this. And the worst part, they knew exactly what kind of relationship Ethan and I had. We were not friends. We were not ordinary rivals either. We were the kind of people who could freeze the atmosphere simply by sitting at the same table. We had argued ourselves hoarse defending our opinions. Meetings lasted twice as long whenever both of us attended. At company dinners, people deliberately seated us far apart because everyone knew what would happen otherwise. And now I was supposed to voluntarily send him something like this. I tightened my grip around my phone. 30 seconds, Ryan announced. We are counting. If you do not do it, you lose. And imagine the humiliation of our fearless marketing manager refusing a dare. I inhaled slowly, closed my eyes, then opened them again. Fine. My voice came out lower than usual. I will wear it. Everyone cheered. But I am taking the photo in the bathroom. I am sending it for 1 minute, then I am unsending it immediately. More cheering. I silently prayed Ethan was busy. Please do not be holding your phone. Please do not open my message. Please. Fine, Ryan shouted. But you really have to send it. We are checking. The changing room door closed behind me. The noise outside disappeared almost instantly. Silence filled the room. I stood there holding the white lace dress. It weighed almost nothing, yet somehow it felt heavier than anything else in the room. Under the ceiling lights, the fabric looked even thinner. I glanced at myself in the mirror. Wrinkled shirt, slightly loose collar, the faint smell of alcohol still clinging to me. Everything looked normal, and that only made what I was about to do feel even more ridiculous. Someone knocked. Are you done yet? Do not hide in there forever. I leaned my head against the door and closed my eyes. There was no escape. I put my phone aside and started changing. Slowly. Not because I had changed my mind. My brain simply had not caught up with the reality of what I was doing. When I finally pulled the lace dress over my head, the fabric felt cool against my skin. I adjusted the shoulders, then the waist, then tried to pull the hem lower. Pointless. The thing clearly was not designed for me. Too short, too thin, far too revealing. I looked at myself in the mirror again. This time I did not look away. Embarrassment came gradually. First my neck, then my shoulders, then seemingly every inch of my body. But underneath the embarrassment was another feeling I could not quite name. The strange thrill of crossing a line I would normally never approach. Are you finished? Another knock. Hurry up. I know. My voice sounded slightly hoarse. I grabbed my phone. The chat window was still open. And there it was. Ethan Cole. Just seeing his name made my heartbeat accelerate. I opened the camera. Raised the phone. Lowered it. Wrong angle. Tried again. Still wrong. I had never struggled so much to take a single photograph. Not because I did not know how. Because I knew exactly who was going to see it. I swallowed. Raised the phone again. This time I stopped overthinking it. I framed enough of myself to make the challenge obvious without showing everything clearly. My finger hovered over the shutter. My heart pounded against my ribs. 3 seconds, someone yelled outside. We are breaking the door down. I laughed weakly. I am doing it. Then I pressed the button. Click. Such a tiny sound. Yet inside that silent room, it felt deafening. I stared at the photograph. My face was not completely clear, but there was no mistaking who it was. I opened Ethan and Apo's chat. The image waited inside the message box. One final step. Send. If I stopped now, I could still escape. I could claim the internet failed, or that my phone froze. Anything. Instead, my thumb moved. The picture was sent. For a second, absolutely nothing happened. I stared at the screen. Please be asleep. Please be in the shower. Please be doing literally anything except checking your phone. Then, seen. My stomach dropped. He had opened it almost immediately. There was no reply, just silence. And somehow the silence was worse. I imagined him staring at the photograph, thinking, judging, wondering whether I had finally gone insane. Panicking, I immediately unsent it. 1 second later, Ethan replied. A single question mark appeared on the screen. Yet my brain managed to invent 1,000 possible meanings for it. I typed quickly, sorry, wrong person. Then I turned my phone off. I had no idea how long I remained inside that changing room. All I knew was that from that moment onward, whatever existed between Ethan Cole and me was probably no longer as simple as mutual hatred. The next morning, I arrived at the office almost 30 minutes early, not because I had urgent work, because I wanted to avoid one particular person. I chose a desk in the corner, turned on my computer, and forced myself to concentrate. It did not work. My thoughts kept replaying the previous night, especially that terrifyingly fast scene notification. What had Ethan thought? What expression had been on his face? Would he mention it? Mock me? Pretend it never happened? I avoided every possible chance of running into him. I got coffee earlier than usual. Used the stairs instead of the elevator. Whenever I passed the engineering department, I changed direction if there was even the slightest possibility Ethan might appear. It worked. For approximately 2 hours. Then one of my coworkers approached. Manager Cole wants to see you in his office. My fingers froze above the keyboard. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I nodded as if nothing was wrong. Only I knew that by the time I reached his door, my palms were already damp. The door clicked shut behind me. Ethan was standing beside his desk. Not sitting. Not looking at his computer. Waiting. The moment he heard the door close, he turned around. His eyes landed directly on me. I instinctively looked away. Several seconds passed. Neither of us spoke. Then Ethan finally broke the silence. Yesterday. His voice was low, controlled. Who were you trying to send that picture to? I blinked. That was not the question I had expected. Oh, that. I forced an awkward laugh. I sent it to you by mistake. Sorry about that. Seriously. It was nothing. You can forget it. I spoke quickly, hoping that would end the conversation. It did not. Ethan continued staring at me. I did not ask why you sent it to me. He stepped closer. I am asking whether you sent pictures like that to anyone else. I stared at him. What? He stopped in front of me. Besides me. Who else did you send it to? Now I was genuinely confused. Why does it matter who I send things to? So you cannot answer. His tone sharpened. His gaze swept over me before returning to my face. Does the company not pay you enough? I froze. It took several seconds for me to understand what he was implying. Then irritation flooded through me. What exactly are you thinking? Am I wrong? He gave a humorless smile. Picture like that. If you were not preparing to send it to multiple people, what exactly were you planning to use it for? I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because I could not believe him. You misunderstood. If you need money, he interrupted, you can ask me. I am not incapable of helping you. That somehow made everything worse. I do not need your money. My voice lost its polite tone. And I am not doing anything like what you are imagining. I turned toward the door. Believe whatever you want. My hand had barely touched the handle when his voice came from behind me. Stop. I froze. Footsteps approached, then stopped directly behind me, close enough that I could feel his presence. Ethan spoke quietly. What does he have that I do not? I turned my head slightly. What? You could choose me instead of him. His voice sounded different now. No anger. Something heavier. I turned around. What him? There is no him. Ethan stared. I sighed. Fine. Apparently I had to tell the truth. Last night I lost a game of truth or dare. His expression changed. The dare was to send that picture to whoever was first in my chat list. Pointed at him. Unfortunately, that person was you. Silence. So, sorry for bothering you. I folded my arms. Next time I message you, maybe I will delete the conversation afterward so you never end up at the top of my list again. For some reason, Ethan visibly relaxed. He breathed out. So that is what happened. Yes, I believe you. Then, after an awkward pause, he added, you do not have to delete our conversations. I stared. What? I am just saying. For the first time since I had known him, Ethan actually looked slightly uncomfortable. I do not really mind receiving messages from you. I stared harder. Was this man sick? Had someone replaced the real Ethan Cole overnight? Whatever was happening, I decided escaping his office was the safest option. I assumed everything would eventually return to normal. Our usual hostile relationship. Arguments. Sarcastic comments. Cold stares across conference tables. Instead, Ethan changed. Slowly at first. But noticeably, he started appearing around me more often. Sometimes he stopped beside my desk. Are you free? I need to discuss the project budget. Other times he conveniently happened to walk past and suddenly remembered some completely unnecessary question. At first, I believed these were coincidences. By the fourth time, even I was not stupid enough to believe that anymore. The biggest change happened during meetings. Previously, the moment I finished presenting an idea, Ethan would raise an eyebrow and immediately challenge it. Now, this proposal works. The room became silent. I looked at him. Surely I had heard incorrectly. Ethan calmly continued. We only need to adjust the Phase 2 budget slightly. After that, we can proceed. Someone behind me whispered, Did the sun rise in the west today? Another person replied, No, we are obviously hallucinating. I lowered my head and pretended to read my documents. But honestly, Ethan agreeing with me was somehow more uncomfortable than Ethan fighting with me. At least when we argued, I understood him. Now I did not. Then one afternoon after work, Ethan walked over while I was packing my things. I will drive you home. I looked at him suspiciously. You live in the opposite direction. I know. Then why would you drive me? I have another apartment near your neighborhood. He answered without hesitation. I have been staying there recently because it is more convenient for work. The explanation sounded just believable enough that I had no immediate reason to refuse. Eventually, I got into his car. Halfway home, I could not tolerate the silence anymore. Have you suddenly become extremely bored? Ethan glanced at me. No. Then why are you constantly looking for me? Work. Does every work-related conversation on Earth have to happen face to face? I frowned. Are your fingers broken? You can message me. Ethan did not answer. He only smiled faintly. That smile made me even more suspicious. When we reached my building, I got out. So did he. I turned. What are you doing? Going upstairs. To where? Your place. He said it as if this was the most normal thing imaginable. Do you not think inviting yourself into someone and Oppo's home is a little strange? Is it? Yes. Despite complaining, I somehow still ended up opening the door. Once we were inside, the atmosphere immediately changed. Only the two of us. No co-workers. No conference room. No desks separating us. Ethan looked around briefly, then asked, Are you seeing anyone? I turned toward him. How is that your business? I am concerned about my co-worker. Sure you are. I answered anyway. No. He nodded. Then asked something even stranger. What do you think about me? I almost laughed. Why are you suddenly asking that? Answer. I looked directly at him. I hate you. How much? Enough that I would prefer not to have anything to do with you. Ethan went silent, then stepped closer. I instinctively stepped backward. What if I do not want you to hate me anymore? His voice lowered. What should I do? Stay away from me. I answered immediately. He stared at me for so long that my instincts began screaming that something was not right. And suddenly, one possibility entered my mind. Everything he had been doing lately. The constant excuses to speak to me. Driving me home. Asking whether I was dating anyone. Wanting to know what I thought about him. This did not feel like someone trying to resolve a workplace misunderstanding. Felt like Ethan Cole was flirting with me. I sincerely hoped I was imagining things. That Saturday afternoon, Ethan drove me home again. This time, he was unusually quiet. The car stopped outside my building. I got out, opened my front door, and was about to say goodbye when someone caught my wrist. I barely had time to turn. My back hit the door. Ethan stood directly in front of me. Far too close. His eyes were darker than usual. How much longer are you going to pretend you do not understand? My heartbeat skipped. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I am talking about. He moved closer. Or do you want me to say it clearly? He looked directly into my eyes. I like you. My mind went blank. I want you. What the hell was I hearing? For a moment, everything happened too quickly. The tension that had been building between us finally snapped, and Ethan kissed me. I shoved against him in shock. What the hell are you doing? Eventually, he stepped back. His breathing was uneven, but his eyes no longer hid anything. I have liked you for a long time. I stared. What? I said I like you. His voice was quiet but certain. Before that project. Before all those ridiculous arguments. He gave a faint laugh. I deliberately challenged you. Because when I argued with you, you paid attention to me. I could not speak. Ethan continued. And when you sent me that picture. His expression darkened again. Do you know what I thought? I shook my head. I thought you sent it because you felt the same way. He paused. Then I wondered what would happen if I was wrong. His jaw tightened. If you sent a picture like that to someone else. His gaze locked onto mine. I would lose my mind. My heartbeat became painfully loud. I do not want anyone else seeing you like that. For once, I knew he was not pretending. Every word was real. And somehow that made everything more frightening. Because now I had to answer him. After a long silence, I finally spoke. Do you think you are the only one who knows how to like someone? Ethan froze. What did you say? You think I argued with you all those times because I had nothing better to do? I stared straight at him. If it had been anyone else, I would never have wasted that much energy. His eyes changed. You think I enjoyed being criticized by you in every meeting? He did not answer. I swallowed. I just never thought you would be the one to admit it first. Ethan stepped closer again. This time there was no aggression. Only disbelief. Are you saying? His voice became quieter. You like me too? I looked away. For several seconds I said nothing. Then, yeah. One word. That was enough. Something in Ethan and Appo's expression finally relaxed. As if he had been holding his breath for years. When he reached for my wrist again, his touch was gentle. Not forcing. Just stopping me from turning away. So, the corner of his mouth lifted. Where exactly were you planning to run? I was not running. I frowned. I was thinking. Finished thinking. I nodded. This time, when Ethan leaned closer, he gave me every opportunity to move away. I did not. The kiss that followed was completely different. Slower. Careful. Almost like a question. When we finally separated, Ethan rested his forehead briefly against mine. So from now on, he smiled. Can I assume you do not hate me anymore? Do not get ahead of yourself. I tried to sound irritated. I just do not hate you as much as before. Ethan laughed. Not his usual sarcastic laugh. A real one. That is fine. His eyes stayed on mine. Not hating me is enough for a beginning. A few days later, Ethan practically moved into my apartment. His explanation. I want to become a live-in husband. I nearly choked on my water. He leaned casually against the cabinet. My apartment is empty most of the time anyway. Your place is closer to work. You make it sound incredibly simple. It is simple. My home is not a hotel. I know. He nodded. That is why I am asking. Then he added politely, if you do not agree, I will not move in. The words sounded respectful. His expression, however, suggested he had absolutely no expectation of being rejected. I stared at him for several seconds. Finally, I sighed. Temporary. His lips curved. Temporary. That temporary arrangement became permanent remarkably quickly. Within 2 days, a second toothbrush appeared in my bathroom. Then several shirts were hanging beside mine. Then shoes. A laptop charger. Coffee. Small personal things that slowly blended into my apartment until it became difficult to remember what the place had looked like before Ethan occupied half of it. And strangely, I did not mind. Morning meant breakfast with someone else. Evening meant coming home together. The silences that had once been empty became comfortable. But living with Ethan taught me another important lesson. The man was far more dangerous at home than he ever was in the office. One evening, I stepped out of the shower with damp hair. Ethan was sitting on the sofa with his laptop open. Except he was not looking at the laptop. He was looking at me. What? I rubbed my hair with a towel. Ethan closed the laptop. Nothing. His eyes suggested the exact opposite. I stopped. Instinct told me to retreat. Unfortunately, my legs did not cooperate. Ethan stood and walked toward me. Slowly. What are you planning now? I asked suspiciously. Yes. His voice was quiet. Before I could respond, he caught my wrist and pulled me toward him. A moment later, we were kissing on the sofa. When Ethan finally pulled away, his voice sounded rough. Do you still have that dress? I blinked. What dress? His expression made the answer obvious. The white one. I stared at him. Do you? That thing. Yes. I hesitated. Apparently that was enough of an answer. Put it on. I narrowed my eyes. You seriously have too much free time. Yet somehow, I still walked toward the bedroom. The door closed behind me. Inside the closet, folded in a corner, was the same white lace nightdress. Just seeing it brought back the memories of that ridiculous night. The embarrassment, the panic, the instant scene notification. Except now everything was different. That night I had worn it because of a dare. This time, opening the closet was my own decision. I exhaled, then pulled the dress out. When I eventually opened the bedroom door, Ethan and Apos' eyes immediately fixed on me. He said nothing for several seconds. Then, come here. My heartbeat accelerated. You are the one who told me to wear it. Why are you staring like that? Ethan and Apos' voice lowered. Because you apparently have no idea what you do to me. I stopped in front of him. He looked at me from head to toe. You look better than the picture. I frowned. Then something he said registered. Wait. I stared at him. What do you mean, the picture? Ethan suddenly looked suspiciously calm. You unsent it. Yes. But I was faster. My mouth fell open. You saved it. I did. You. And I have looked at it more than once. Ethan Cole. He laughed and pulled me closer before I could decide whether to kill him. What followed turned into an extremely long night. By the time everything finally quieted down, I was exhausted enough to barely remain conscious. Ethan carried me to the bathroom, helped me clean up, and took care of me afterward. The infamous lace dress, completely ruined. I wanted to throw it away. Ethan refused. He actually folded what remained of the thing and put it back inside the closet. I still do not understand that man. Then again, I am already in love with him. What can I do? The days afterward passed in a way I had never imagined possible. We went to work together every morning, came home together every evening, shared meals, shared routines, shared all the ordinary parts of life that had once seemed completely meaningless. With another person beside me, even boring moments felt different. Ethan changed more than I expected. He started waking up early, not for work, for breakfast. Some mornings, he bought food on the way home from a run. Other mornings, he stood awkwardly in the kitchen attempting to cook despite possessing approximately zero culinary talent. I would sit down and find breakfast waiting. He would pretend it was nothing. It is getting cold. I looked at him. What time did you wake up? Not that early. He checked his phone as if the conversation did not matter. Just early enough to make breakfast for you. At the office, he remained the Ethan Cole everyone knew. Cold, efficient, difficult to approach. His sentences rarely contained one unnecessary word. But nobody knew what happened when his office door closed and only the two of us remained inside. Every morning, I would arrive at my desk and somehow find my usual coffee waiting there. You really have too much time. I lifted the cup. Ethan glanced at me. Even when I do not, I make time. Then he added casually, It is my responsibility, sweetheart. I nearly threw the coffee at him. Naturally, people started noticing. The glances, raised eyebrows whenever Ethan and I appeared together. The suspicious conversations in the break room. You two have been working together surprisingly well lately. Yeah. Suspiciously well. Eventually, someone had enough courage to ask me directly. Seriously, is something going on between you two? Before I could answer, yes. Ethan responded from beside me. The entire room froze. I whipped my head toward him. What are you doing? Ethan calmly continued. We have a project together. Everyone visibly relaxed. Mostly. Their expressions made it obvious nobody completely believed him. Another evening, we were waiting for the elevator with several coworkers. When the doors opened, everyone stepped inside. I stood near the front. Ethan stood directly behind me. The elevator was crowded enough that his proximity looked completely innocent. Only I knew better. Someone joked. Move closer. There is still space. Before I could respond, Ethan spoke quietly behind me. No need. His voice was low. This is close enough. I closed my eyes for 1 second. That man had absolutely no intention of hiding anything. And somehow, I was not as bothered by that as I should have been. That night, Ethan followed me into my apartment as naturally as if he had lived there for years. I looked over my shoulder while removing my shoes. You are seriously never going back to your other apartment, are you? No. So you are permanently becoming a live-in husband. Ethan paused, then looked directly at me. I am hoping my spouse does not throw me out. I laughed. Why would I? My voice softened. Stay. Ethan smiled, then kissed me until I nearly forgot what we had been talking about. Later that night, I lay in bed with my back toward him. I could still feel him looking at me. You are not sleeping. Not yet. What are you staring at? Silence. Then Ethan answered quietly. My wife. I froze for half a second. You promoted yourself pretty quickly. Maybe. His voice remained completely calm. But you did not object. I pulled the blanket higher, hiding half my face. I did not answer, mostly because I knew he would hear the smile in my voice. If someone had told me months ago that Ethan Cole and I would end up like this, I would have laughed in their face. We began as enemies. Then came one ridiculous misunderstanding. One photograph that should never have been sent. A series of arguments that turned out to mean something completely different. And somehow, little by little, the distance between us disappeared. Now we did not need to compete over every sentence. We did not need to hide. I only had to turn around to know he was still there. And surprisingly, that was enough. Thank you for listening to BL Drama. If you enjoyed the story, do not forget to support the channel. And I will see you again in the next BL Drama story.